All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
We are live.
Technically, even though nobody's watching live. This is just our way of doing a live stream, but keeping it private and then releasing it whenever we want.
Yeah.
But my name's Rob St. Clair. That's Everett Delorme, and we are going to do something fun.
Yeah. Today, we are going to break down our top all-stars from the 2010s.
Right.
So basically what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a draft just like we did yesterday for our teams for this year's VNL, but we're going to do a draft of the top players in the 2010s from 2010 to 2019.
An all-decade team,
all decade teams.
Teams, right. So
yes.
you and I will each draft our teams. The rules are that we cannot draft the same players, obviously. And just like the VNL draft we did, only one player per country per person.
Which means that there's a lot of good players who are going to be left off this list.
Yes, there are.
There are a lot of good players who are going to be left off this list.
And I think yesterday when we did this with the current VNL players was really fun because the strategy was interesting. Like, we ended up picking the best countries latest.
Yeah.
And we ended up spending our early picks on countries that had really just one, maybe two great players.
Yeah.
Because that's where we needed the value the most on the early picks. So I'm curious to see if that same strategy kind of holds up for this. But Everett's sitting sideways so that I can't see his computer screen because he's worried about sort of looking at each other's notes here.
Yeah, that's it. You always steal my ideas. So
oh, do I?
this would just be another one. Yeah, I'm not as confident. When I first suggested this, I was like, "Oh, this would be awesome." No, and I'm not as confident. I still think it's going to be great, but I'm not as confident now that I'm going to be able to pick something.
I'm really worried about forgetting an obvious player.
Yeah.
Like thinking back on an entire decade. I mean, I don't know exactly what your timeline was, but my first exposure to international volleyball was 2009. So this decade from 2010 to 2019 is right in my wheelhouse. Maybe more for the international game than the club game.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't really dig into the club game until more like 2015 maybe. But that whole decade of national team game, I think I'm going to be able to remember pretty well.
Yeah, me too. But once again, there's so many good players from that decade, the 2010s. And then there's all of those I think we're going to have to do some checks throughout this too. Because if you name someone, might have to do some research to be hey, he didn't necessarily have that great of a...
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think the last thing to make really clear before we get into it is this is about what that player accomplished in the 2010s decade.
Yeah.
So, for example, the U.S. guys who won the Olympics in 2008, not considered. That accomplishment does not count towards this list.
No Clayton Stanley out here.
Well, I mean,
no Lloyd Ball.
Maybe. No way would you pick Lloyd Ball for the 2010s, but Stanley played for another 5 or so years into the 2010s, but I wouldn't say he would be a very good pick because clearly his best accomplishment was before the 2010s decade. So
exactly.
And then same with the French Olympic gold medalists from 21, for example. That accomplishment also falls outside of the window that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean that group did have some good results.
They did
throughout that decade,
but not an Olympic gold, and so that's I think that's going to be an interesting discussion point. Is what exactly did each player accomplish from the years 2010 to 2019?
Yeah, I mean, but if we're going based off Olympic golds, only 2 teams won Olympic golds within that decade. Right?
That's true.
It was it was just Russia and Brazil.
Yep.
So
but there were a lot of other things that happened in the decade, obviously, and this is both the national team game and the club game.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, my international volleyball experience started the first time I watched international volleyball with 2006.
Okay.
But 2011 is when I started working with Team Canada. That was my first exposure to international ball.
As an insider of
as
sorts?
as an insider, exactly. So I don't know. I feel good, but it's also there's just so much volleyball to cover.
Yeah, there is.
There's so much volleyball to cover.
So I think without further ado, we should get into it. So just like we did yesterday, we're going to have 12 players.
Yes.
You can distribute that by position however you want, but we have it broken down on the screen right now. Basically, the Olympic format, the way most teams pick 12-player rosters, that's 2 setters, 2 opposites, 4 outsides, 3 middles, and 1 libero. But if you want to go outside of that, that's fine. And then 1 per country.
Yeah.
And Everett and I are going to do a little rock, paper, scissors to decide who goes first.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. All right.
Ready? On shoot again?
Yeah.
Best out of 1.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay, you get to start.
Wilfredo Leon.
Oh, damn it.
Wilfredo Leon of Cuba. and this is important, Wilfredo Leon for the 2010s decade definitely counts for Cuba.
He did play a World Championships for Cuba in 2010, and they got second.
And he was not eligible for the Polish national team until 2019. So with this pick, I get the silver medal in the 2010 World Championship, and I get 4 Champions Leagues in a row in Zenit Kazan from I think 14 through 18.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, because that's when he went to Perugia.
Yep, and it's funny because yesterday when we did the VNL draft, Leon actually didn't get picked.
I know.
Because there were so many other picks from Poland and some of the other outside hitters. But
I also think there's a recency bias with that too, just how he hasn't been great so far this decade.
True, but in the 2010s decade, I think he was clearly the best player in the world for 10 straight years, even from when he was like 16, 17 years old. And even though he didn't play internationally for like 8 of those years, he still was the best player in the world.
Yeah, he was hands down the best player in the world. You're right. Oh, okay.
I also think it's really good value to get a Cuban pick.
Absolutely.
But
to be honest, you've picked the one Cuban there, and
now I would say there's one other Cuban who now
that's exactly like this is exactly like yesterday with Argentina. Yeah. When if you picked one, then you're gonna pick the other.
Wait as long as you want to get the other.
Exactly. So okay. I mean, I don't really need to say what that pick.
Oh no, we obviously know who it is.
Okay.
And he should absolutely get picked later. So okay, I'm very happy. I'm happy I won that rock paper scissors because I really felt like I needed to draft Wilfredo Leon first overall. So your turn, my friend.
Shit.
This is gonna be really fun.
I'm going to go from Argentina, Facundo Conte.
Yep. Good pick.
Facundo Conte. He was an absolute stud in the 2010s. I remember back like the 2011 World League. He was unreal for them. This when he was just coming into it. And
he was in his prime for literally the entire 2010s decade.
The entire 2010s decade. He was really good. So I'm very happy with that.
Are you a little bit disappointed though that you don't get that Olympic bronze from 2021?
Yeah, a little bit, but just in pure quality.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like a player that you wanted to watch. Like when Argentina came to Canada and they didn't bring Facundo Conte, I was pissed.
Yeah,
I was mad, right? Because I wanted to watch Facundo Conte. So
and he had a good club career too. I mean, him and Uriarte playing at Skra Belchatov together.
Oh yeah,
those were fun teams. Like that was right as I was getting into club volleyball.
Yeah,
like understanding how,
and that was back when Skra was good.
When Skra was good, and like how much of a powerhouse they used to be. And yeah, I remember there were those two, Uriarte and Conte, were all over the YouTube highlight reels in the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Like running naked 2 balls and getting wide open bounce balls in their Skra days.
Yeah,
so
also played for Santa Cruzeiro.
No, of course.
At the end there too. So yeah, Facundo Conte is going to be my first my first pick.
Okay. So like you said, there were only 2 teams that won Olympic golds.
Yes.
In the 2010s, there was obviously Russia in 2012, with maybe the greatest comeback in volleyball history, maybe. And I mean,
definitely.
I think it clearly was. And then Brazil at home in 2016.
Yes.
There are a lot of great Russian players and great Brazilian players from that decade.
There are a lot, yes.
But there are 2 in particular that I think defined the decade at their respective positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to take one of them here, but I really don't know which. But I think
I would say there's 3 for Brazil.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think that the one that is clearly, very, very obviously the number 1 player at his position for the 2010s, and I would say of all time, is Sergio.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to take my libero off the board in the second round, and I'm going to take Sergio of Brazil because I mean they're obviously a lot of great Brazilian volleyball players.
Yeah.
But there's no possible libero that you can pick that can be better than Sergio.
He transcended. He was the first libero. Yes. Right? Because the libero position didn't come in until like the early 2000s. And even then, like I think you see throughout the 2000s like teams really like just trying to figure out what the libero position was. you know?
Sergio practically invented it.
He invented that position, right? And he's so transcendent. I remember my good buddy Wes Chen, when we both worked for Volleyball Canada back in 2012, leading up to the event, we had talked about how, you know, like he had been with the team before, I'd been with the team before, and neither of us were really into like getting pictures with players. And at the end of World League Week 1, and it was Canada, Poland, Brazil, and Finland here. And
back when Finland was respectable.
Yeah, back when Finland was respectable. I'm pretty sure Samuel Vuol was still on the bench then, like as a player.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think he was starting, but he was like on the bench with the team. And Wes was just like, there's only one person I would want to take a picture with, and it's Sergio. And Sergio is he was definitely on my list too. I think there's 2 other players from Brazil that really helped define that decade.
Okay, yeah, I definitely can think of one that I almost picked.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see who you go with, but
yeah,
you now have the luxury of you can wait as long as you want to pick a Brazilian.
Yeah, exactly. And my pairing based off the 2 guys that you've already picked, like the other 2 that I could pick, like I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
I'm really happy with that.
But no matter what, you're not getting a libero on your list. It's as good as Sergio.
No, you're. There's no doubt about that.
I'll take that. I feel good about using that Brazil pick second.
Yeah, you're right on that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with Italy, Juantorena.
Oh,
Juantorena. They got second. He got second at the Olympics in 2016.
Yep. And he definitely counts as Italian.
And
for
he
this
was Italian for that decade for sure. So yeah, I'm going Juantorena on the left side. And that already, I'm happy with my left sides there. Conte and Juantorena. That's nasty.
That's a great duo.
That's nasty.
And
plus the setter that you've left me on the board here.
And not to mention his club success. I mean,
his club success is
he gets. I think the Trentino Champions Leagues were 2009, 2010, and 2011. So you get 2 of those 3 for Juantorena in the Trentino years, and then you get the Lube years where all he did was win Scudettos. Like his club career in the 2010s was unbelievable. Yeah, and then you get an Olympic silver medal.
Yeah, played for Halkbank, played for Trentino. Yeah, he had some good runs.
I think that's a really good pick.
Yeah.
I actually did. As far as Italian guys go, I didn't actually have that many Italian guys on my list.
Me neither. And then, like, once again, I think Italian volleyball is just so pervasive as like the whole entire team is good and our system is good, and we play really well together as a team. So they don't really have necessarily those few dominant guys. So that's when I was doing my research. I really only found him. Like there's a few middles that you go, like Mastrangelo Birelli, those type of guys.
I'm definitely not going to pick an Italian middle. There's when Italy picked up Osmani Juantorena, they went from all around good at every position to a medal contender. Yeah, instantly with that one pickup.
Absolutely, and they got that silver medal down in 2016.
Yes, they did. Which is a tournament that I like to forget as far as Italy goes. That semifinal when they beat my United States was one of the worst matches I've ever watched. Okay. Well, since you've been kind enough to leave Russia on the board, I'm going to take the other pick that I really wanted that I think defined the decade. That's Dmitry Mazursky.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to take Dmitry Mazursky, and I'm going to take him in the middle. I think.
He's a middle.
Definitely
he played one game on the opposite. Yeah, he played one game the opposite, and his career in Japan doesn't count.
I agree. So what I'm excited to get out of this pick is the absolute dominance, like utter dominance of the middle position every year for Russia. Obviously, you get the greatest coaching decision of all time, putting Mazursky on the right side in set 3 against Brazil. But also you get a Champions League win with Belgorod in, I think, 2014.
Yeah, 2014, 20.
I think it was 14. Yeah, I think it was 14. With like him, Tragica, ironically.
Yeah.
Grozer. Like that team was nasty. And so you get a Champions League win, you get an Olympic gold, and you get the best player in the world at that position for most of the decade.
Yeah.
Maybe not all the decade. Like the later half, we haven't really heard from Mazursky in a while, but the first half of the decade, for sure, there was no question that Dmitry Mazursky was the best middle in the world.
Yeah, you're right on that. I'm going to agree with you on that for sure.
Very happy about my first 3 picks. Very happy about them. Okay, you're up. So now you can wait as long as you want to pick a Russian and a Brazilian.
Oh yeah.
That man, you've got so much value that you can just use late in whatever late round you want on some amazing players from those countries.
Yeah. I mean, I know who I'm going to pick for Brazil.
Okay.
I think it's very obvious.
Yeah, it should be. And I know who, if I were you, who I would pick from Russia.
I know as well. But yeah. I kind of want to spoil your day a little bit and pick an American.
I've got a couple.
I know you do. I figured you do. But to me, I'm going to go with Matt Anderson.
Damn it.
On the outside.
Damn it.
Matt Anderson on the outside.
No.
Yeah.
That's who I wanted.
Mostly because that Champions League run.
Yes, I know.
That Champions League run.
Shit.
I think in terms of like the most recognizable player from the USA in the 2010s and still now due to that, like I honestly think USA should be playing in the primetime spot tonight just because of Matt Anderson. Like he in terms of North America, he might be the most recognizable volleyball player.
This breaks my heart. This is the American that I want. I think it's clearly the best American pick for that decade.
Yeah, absolutely.
I watched literally the first international volleyball match I ever watched was the World League in 2009. And the player that I remember most from that match was Matt Anderson.
Yeah, for sure. For me, the most memorable Matt Anderson moment was when he packed TJ Sanders in the throat in Detroit. In 2015.
That was actually the first Volleyball Source video I ever watched. The highlight from that match when he on the right side lit up TJ Sanders and almost like took his voice box away.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I feel
God,
I've only picked outsides so far, but I'm happy with my outsides.
Damn it. Oh, I wanted Anderson. I really did.
And honestly, it just makes it that much better that I knew you wanted him.
Yeah, man, I do not know what other American I'm going to pick now. Well, I mean, I think that I do, but it's not going to. Yeah, Anderson was clearly the best for the entirety of the decade.
100%.
Like there's another American or two that I think would be good for maybe the later half of that decade, because honestly, from 2009 through like 2013, we weren't very good.
No.
There was we struggled in that overlap in generation from after the 2008 win to like the class that came in about 2014.
Yeah, until Micah was like ready to go, until
Taylor Sander,
Aaron Russell, Jayski, all of those guys.
That,
Shoji.
It was like a couple of the guys who were way past their prime, like Lamborn, Clay Stanley, Don Sujo was the setter at that point. Like that, there weren't that many Americans that played that well for the entire decade, except for Matt Anderson.
Yeah,
so that's a great pick, and I'm very upset about it.
Speaking of old school Americans, shout out to Riley Salmon, who's been tuning into the show.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
Riley's a legend.
Yeah, he's been commenting on some stuff.
Really?
Yeah, he made a comment, and I was like, it said like Riley Salmon, and he was just like, love this, would love to give my input at some point, and I was like, wait, is this the Riley?
Is this like Riley Salmon asking to come on the show? Because
that's a yes.
Riley, you officially have a standing invite.
As at any time.
Anytime you want to come on the show. Nobody I've had the pleasure of hearing so many Loy Ball stories, like straight from the source and about his career. I bet that Riley could tell some good ones.
I bet he could too. I bet he could too.
Okay, enough gushing about old American teams. I've got to emotionally recover and make a pick here. I'm gonna go. I mean, kind of the strategy that we saw come up yesterday was stop looking at my screen. You cheater.
I can't really see, but I mean, you're showing. So I'm gonna look at it.
Well, I'm trying to run a broadcast over here and put them for the stream as well. I'm going to go with sort of the strategy we had yesterday and take like the clearly only valuable player.
I think I know what you're going
from
with
a country. I'm picking Grozer from Germany.
Oh, that wasn't where you were going, but I thought that's a good one, and he's on my list too.
I'm the only German player that would even make sense to take for the 2010s decade. Yeah. I'm taking Jurgi Grozer. Champions League win 2014 with Belgrade, like we said, but he was a literal walking highlight factor.
He was a weapon.
He was a total weapon.
He was an absolute weapon. I remember talking to some of the Canada guys after the World Championships in 2010, and them, it was just like it was the beginning of the 2011 season. I was just kind of getting into everything, and I was still a little like the idea of like them going to play other guys. And I was talking to to some of the guys, like, what was the biggest, like, who, you guys beat Serbia, but who did you really want to play? They're all like, Grosjean, man. Like, I remember Dustin Snyder telling me about how someone passed a ball, and it was just a pass off a serve, and it went so high up, and then he still had to set it with his hands, and that ball had so much spin on it and so much weight after it had been passed. So, yeah, he was a walking highlight reel. He's the only reason that Germany was relevant at all in the volleyball world.
That's correct. I think they got second at a Euro volley one of those years.
Yeah, and I know they got fourth at the World Championships in that span too.
And literally the only reason they did those things was because of Grosjean.
Because Georgi Grosjean.
He was unbelievable and is still doing it to this day.
Still doing it.
Clearly past his prime, but he's still doing it.
Still putting up numbers. Yeah, he's still putting up numbers.
So I think that, like, once we get past some of the main countries, those, like, second tier countries, because we were doing the one country per person rule, is actually going to be kind of tricky. So I had to, like, think about countries that, like, didn't immediately come to mind as, like, being great volleyball countries.
Yeah.
And because we're each going to need a couple of those, I'm really happy to have a player as good as Grozer from, like, a sort of secondary volleyball country like Germany.
For sure. All right. In that same vein, I'm going to pick someone who was clearly the most defining player of their generation for their team in the 2010s. And I'm going with Saeed Marouf.
Damn it.
I was when you started going on that spiel, I thought you were going with Marouf. That's who I thought you were going with.
The only Iranian player that matters.
Iranian player who matters. I mean, there was a lot of good ones, and I remember it was like World Cup, like 2011. I think that Iran started coming on the scene and started being like a team, like a team to watch. I remember them beating Italy and a few other teams in that World Cup, and just being like a team to make, oh shit, like these guys, we need to pay attention to them. Back when Velasco was running the show with them.
That's right. I forgot about that. I think it was in our VNL preview this year that I was calling that generation of Iranian players. I literally called them the Marouf generation. Yeah. Like all the guys that helped Marouf 100%. He is, and I think he might have the most Instagram followers of any male volleyball player on the planet.
Ooh, that could be true. We do know how Iranians love. I mean, Key Michael. She did one interview with Iran.
80,000 followers alone from one interview with Esfandiar last year. Marouf, clearly the best player in Iranian history, and one of the most historically significant volleyball players of that decade,
absolutely.
For sure. Also, I think he kind of randomly picked up a Champions League win with Zenit Kazan. Remember he joined halfway through one of those years?
He did join Zenit Kazan in that time as well. Let's see when he played for them.
Might have been the 15.
It was 15, yeah.
Because it was him and an extremely young Kobzilla. Extremely young Igor Kobzar.
And
the setters on that team.
No Kobzar. Oh yeah. And he took over for Toniutti. Toniutti was the setter before. And then in that year, and at the winter transfer window, they let Toniutti go and brought in Marouf.
Man, I always forget that Toniutti played for Zenit Kazan.
Yeah.
And Marouf is a great pick. I was hoping to get that for Iran, but I honestly probably should have picked it earlier. So yeah, if I don't know if I'm even going to pick an Iranian guy at this point, that's going to be tough. Okay, I'm going to try and use another country that is going to be a little tricky to get good value from. There are 2 Bulgarian players.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do I want? One of them played more for the national team.
Yes.
The other had a better club career.
Arguably. It's close, though.
But I have more room on my list for outside hitters than I do for opposites, and I'm going to take Matej Kaziski.
Yeah, that's a good choice. That's a good choice.
I'm going to take Matej Kaziski. Same thing with Juan Terena. You get 2 out of Trentino's 3 Champions League wins in 2010, 2011, and then just even after he was kind of over Bulgaria. He might have played in the 2012 Olympics, maybe. I honestly don't remember. If he did, Bulgaria didn't do anything special, but he definitely didn't play in 2016. And just wasn't a factor on the national team just because he was kind of over it, but was an absolute monster in the club game the entire decade.
Yeah. No Olympics. Oh, wait, 2012. Oh, he played in the. He played Olympic qualification and stuff in 2012. But yeah, like he was winning Club World Championships. He was winning Champions Leagues. He was winning Scudettos.
Also a walking highlight reel.
Still is.
Still is. And he's what, like 37, 38 now and just won a Scudetto?
He's getting up there for sure.
But like as he was the first guy I saw be that big and jump that high.
Okay.
Like the first guy I remember in like the 6'8", 6'9" size bracket.
Yeah.
Like jump and like could fall asleep at the top of the antenna
and could just crush balls.
He was unbelievable.
Just absolutely crush
and
balls.
I think that the Bulgaria pick is good value. Needed to get either him or I think the other clear guy from Bulgaria who now you can take if you want to.
We'll see. We'll see. That the right side of the court I find is very, very loaded.
It is
in this generation.
Both setters and opposites.
Both setters and opposites, yeah. And I'm going to go now in the opposite position. I'm going to make my token Canadian pick. And this one, I think, is obvious. There is no man who defined Canadian volleyball and put us on the map more in the 2010s than Mr. Gavin Schmidt. Gavin Schmidt was... you want to talk about walking highlight reels? Two T's. Gavin Schmidt. Not Schmid, but Gavin Schmidt. Good old Saskatoon boy.
Great
right
pick.
There.
Great pick.
Funnily enough, in his years leading up to being with the national team, I was always a Dallas Sunius fan. Like Dallas Sunius, the lefty.
Dallas is a legend.
And the first time I ever watched Team Canada play, Dallas had the long hair. He was wearing a headband. He just had so much steez on the court. But Gavin was just pure dominance and helped put Canada on the map in a time when we weren't. Like we were irrelevant. Like ranked 27th in the world, losing to Puerto Rico at Norseca's type of thing. I mean, they did have Hector Soto at the time, and he was amazing. He was at the end of his career.
Yeah.
But Gavin Schmidt, for me, in club wise, he didn't have maybe the best of careers. Like he was injured a lot in the club in club, and he played in Korea. He played a little bit in Brazil. He played in Russia a bit. Played for Arcus. Played for Resovia 1 year as well too. But internationally, everyone knew they had to game plan for Gavin Schmidt.
Yep.
And you could know what he was going to do because the reality, he got more shots as his career went on, but he was just
the most physically dominant player in Canadian history for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. And might have been one of the most physically dominant players
in the world
at the time. Yeah.
And so significant. He was the first Canadian volleyball player I ever remember. He really did put you guys on the map.
He really did. So I had to
Good pick.
Yeah.
Good pick.
I was worried you were going to pick him early, just to mess with me.
I have. So now it's interesting because I have. None of us have picked the same countries yet.
Yes,
we've both made 5 picks and we've picked 10 completely different countries.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue to pick countries that you have not yet picked, and because I can save my last couple picks for before, because there's no way they'll get taken off the board. I'm going to go with Serbia.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a Serbian player because Serbia as a team had a very good decade.
They did.
The 2012 Olympics was the last Olympics that Serbia played in.
That's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah.
They didn't play 2016. Even though they won the World League that year, they didn't qualify for the Olympics.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't play 2021. So they did play 2012, and they were unbelievable in 2008, even though the U.S. beat them in the semis. But maybe it was the quarters. But the player that I think was the most consistent and the most amazing for Serbia that decade was a guy that I also picked on our draft yesterday, and it's Marko Petrashinin.
Yeah.
Marko Petrashinin was so good the entire decade. I remember watching him in 2008. He was just the young kid in the Olympics. Him next to my all-time hero, Daddy Stankovic, who I thought about picking just because it would be funny.
And that's what I thought you were going to go with Stankovic for sure.
I almost picked Daddy.
That leaves the door open for me.
So
to
if you want
to
pick Daddy, and you better believe all I'm going to write on the screen is just Daddy.
Daddy.
But if as much as I love Daddy Stankovic, Marko Pedrašinen was the best Serbian player for the duration of the decade.
Yeah, without.
I also thought about picking Ivan Milkovic, who had a case for being the best player in the world, but I thought that was
was more 2000s.
Yeah, which is why I stayed away from it.
If you were to ask me who was the best player in the 2000s, it's one of two guys. It's either Djiba or Ivan Milkovic.
Yeah.
And depending on what side of the world you grew up on and where your allegiances lie, you're going to pick one of those two players. For me, it's Djiba, but it's just because of my age and how iconic he was, especially during those 2008 Olympics.
But yeah, Milkovic was like right when I got into volleyball. It was just at the tail, like just after Milkovic had reached kind of the peak of his career, but he was still. For the first half of that decade, he was really special. But because of how good Pedrašinen was the entire decade, I'm happy to have him. I think he's the best Serbian pick considering the criteria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Okay.
So you still need all of your middles and a libero.
Yes.
I still need both my setters. But I actually know I think I know who both of them are going to be.
I know who my other setter is going to be. I think it's my turn, right?
It is your turn. You have 7 more picks to make. And if you don't start picking middles, you might be in a
that's what
trouble over there.
I'm looking for a middle right now. That's
I'm still so mad you took Matt Anderson. Damn it.
I'm happy about that one.
Well, there's one middle that you can get late. That you need.
He's my corner piece.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
yeah. There's one middle that I know, and for some reason, when you look at the top middles on Volleybox, they're all just Italian.
That's just because I don't know the way Volleybox rates players for their careers. Like that, I like where they're kind of where they're going, but I don't exactly like the way that they have things weighted.
Yeah. Yeah. Frig. Who do I want to pick in the middle? And I'm just blanking on good middle players right now. That's
Come on, this isn't great content.
No, it's not. You're right. You're right. Oh, and I can't go with him too. All of the good middles are Russian.
Or you could just pick the guy that you know you're going to take just for this,
Okay, yeah, let's just do that. Let's just go with Simon. That one's obvious. I was going to wait to take him off the board a little bit later, and I'm going to go do some more in-depth research on a good middle from the 2010s. It's hard to think, and the problem is the Italians I've already picked. And, but let's be honest. If it's not Mazurski,
it's Simon.
It's Simon.
Yeah. Even though
those honestly might be the top 2 middles all time.
Of all time. I would argue that they are.
Yeah.
Those two were really just something else. And Simon to this day I think is still the best middle in the world.
Oh, still right now, absolutely. Especially when he's with the setter that knows what he's doing. I think Bizov started to figure that out.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season. But DeCecco and Simon, that's still one of the greatest pairings of all time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got 6 picks down, and I think if I take one more country that you have not yet picked, then I'm in the clear as far as countries go for the rest of the draft. So yeah, well, I think I need 2 more unique countries, and then I can just take countries that you've already picked. And so, I've been thinking about France. Because France is like we said before we even started they've had this same core of players for basically 10 years. And although the pinnacle of their accomplishment was the 2021 Olympics, which is outside the window that we're talking about, they still accomplished a lot in the 2010s decade. I think there was at least 1 World League win in there, maybe even 2. Which French guy do I want to pick? I honestly haven't been sure, but I'm going to go with another guy who didn't get drafted yesterday, and I'm going to go with Ervin Ingapeth.
Okay. Yeah, that's strong.
It was right. It was when he was like, we make fun of him now for being a little chunkier, a little lazier,
A little.
but still unbelievable because of how just pure skilled he is.
Oh, he's just so much fun to
and
watch.
His unmatched
It
confidence.
sucks that we don't get to watch him in person this week because he just has this like Claire and I were talking about it the other day, and she's like, I miss France not being here, but just because they're just so cool. They make volleyball cool.
They're so cool.
They're like the way they play the game, the way they have swagger. Like, no offense to Italy, I love Italy, but like you look at the guys and you're like, oh, these guys are a bunch of nerds, right? Like the volleyball stereotype is white nerds,
yeah,
especially like in North America and stuff like that.
For sure.
And I just feel like France just transcends that.
France is so cool.
And they got that drip.
And
they got that
Irvin, like in the 2010s, he was touching about 6 inches higher at least than he does now, but was still like crazy skilled. Was a vicious weapon from the baseline. Was insane out of the pipe. He invented the option ball on 2 out of position 6.
Yeah,
literally invented it in the 2010s decade. He had all the saga with his hair. We were always curious to see what kind of hairstyle he'd be rocking.
Yeah,
he had the bright red mohawk for a while.
Add in a couple assault charges on top of that. A few rap albums too.
A few rap albums.
Oh yeah.
Some of the unfortunate side effects of a cool volleyball player.
Might be one of the most culturally relevant volleyball players we've ever had.
Yeah. So I love this pick, and also I think he's a good style counter because now my outsides are Leon, Kaziski, and Ingapet.
That is nice.
That's a nice kind of well-rounded trio, and I still have one more outside pick left to make.
I'm going to stick in the same vein, in the same country. I'm going with Grebennikov as my libero.
Great pick.
And I think that after Sergio, like Grebennikov has to be, one of the top guys. I remember when he was playing for Friedrichshafen, and just some of the plays that he would make. I remember a friend of mine, Mike Camaroso, he was playing for Deutschland in the Bundesliga. They're not there anymore for one season, and he was showing us some of his highlights, and like he showed us these highlights like Grebennikov. Like Grebennikov was making digs with like the bottom of his feet, like literally like a ball, like going for a ball, it getting redirected, and he's on his back and like kicking at it with the bottom of his feet to make a dig, and he's just I absolutely iconic. And that French team does not have the resurgence it does
without him.
Without him.
100%.
Yeah.
Also, like we were talking about DeCecco yesterday being an artist as opposed to a scientist.
He's an artist.
You would never, ever, if you were coaching liberos,
never.
You would never tell them to watch Shenny or Grebennikov.
Do not look at him. No, absolutely.
Do not try and do what he does because you cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot do what he does.
I remember one of my coaches in college, Jay Mooney, big shout out to him. He literally used that as an example. He's like, this is Grebennikov. Like, this is the best in the world. Do not do what he does.
Don't even try it.
Because he's playing it at a level that you just need to do whatever you can to get the ball up. And he's working with a reaction time and athleticism and everything like that you will never have.
That's exactly correct.
You will never be as good as him, so don't try to be him.
My favorite Grebennikov dig ever was a national team game in one of the World Leagues late in the 2010s. France was playing Serbia. I think France beat Serbia in a World League final, and there's a chance it was during this match. It was definitely in that matchup. Lisenats went up, wide open net. He thumped a ball straight down to the 8-foot line. But for some reason, Grebennikov charged that spot. For some reason. Like, you would never do that. You would never, even, like, no sane person would ever place themselves in the line of fire from a wide open net Lisenats bounce.
Yeah.
And he did. He just put his body on the line, popped it straight up in the air against no blockers. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. He was just, the things that
ridiculous.
He's done. Like he's one of those he makes these rash decisions for no reason whatsoever. Just like, the story of Troy Polamalu blocking the C gap when Pat McAfee was going to score that one time.
Yeah.
He's
Great
just
story.
He has like a gut feeling.
Yep.
And he's just
right.
I'm going to do this.
Which is why nobody else can ever do what he does.
100%.
Okay. I love that pick. All right. I'm going with my last unique country. And then I think that the rest of my countries that I want, like the players that I want, you've already taken their countries.
Okay.
Let me double check that in my head. Yes. I have five picks left. I think We haven't touched Poland yet.
No.
And Poland had a really interesting decade because they won 2 world championships.
With 2 very different squads.
Completely different squads, and there isn't really one player that sticks out that really commanded both of them. Because like the 2014 World Championship, that was the Mariusz Vlaswy year.
Yeah.
And then the 2018 was the Bartosz Kurek year.
Bartosz Kurek, exactly.
And I think Drzyzga was the setter in 18, but not 14. I think that was Zagadło still.
Yeah.
The one player that I actually have always loved and I've thought is criminally underrated, and I think fills a really valuable spot on my list, is Peter Nowakowski in the middle.
Solid choice.
He was a rock solid middle blocker, and even still is, but hasn't played for he retired from the national team after the 21 Olympics. I always really, really liked him. I thought he was a quieter guy that had no weaknesses. There's not really that much more to say about him, honestly.
No. Yeah. He was honestly real solid. Oh. Okay.
So, yeah, I know exactly now who the rest of my picks are going to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know exactly. I have 4 picks left, so you have 5 picks left. And you've got a lot of the powerhouse countries at your disposal. You've still got a Russia. You've still got a Poland. You've still got a Serbia. You've still got a Bulgaria. You might have to pick 1 or 2 weird countries in there, but who do you got next?
My middle blocker is still my Achilles heel here.
Mm-hmm.
That's like it's so hard to remember good middle blockers from the 2010s for some reason. Most unheralded position.
It always is. Always has been, always will be.
Unheralded position.
I mean, you and I both spent some time playing middle. We understand.
I did. Oh, I absolutely
understand the struggle.
I absolutely did spend some time playing in the middle. I was a little undersized in the middle, but still.
Me too. Position sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah.
And it's completely unheralded.
I think I'm going to go the opposite. Oh, shit. You know what? I'm going to do it. Give me Daddy. Give me Daddy. It was honestly between him and Lisniak, but I think Daddy is the one to go there in the middle.
Great pick.
Yeah. I think he's just dependable. He's real good.
All caps. For Daddy Stankovic.
Daddy.
Daddy is a legend. He's a legend. Great club career. Still a great club career. Remember, he was on that Lube team in 2019 that was 2018 and 2019 that could have been maybe the best club team ever assembled. Like Christensen, Sokolov, Daddy. Who are the outsides? Juan Terena and I think like Taylor Sander one of the years, and Krebenikov and like Biniak, and they were nasty. And this was after Daddy was Italian and didn't count against the foreigner limit anymore. Yeah. But he was clearly Serbian for this decade. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah. Give me Daddy Stankovic. I thought about Nisnjac, but no, I want just for the meme value. Too.
Yeah.
Just for the meme value.
It would not have been acceptable if we hadn't drafted Daddy for this video. Okay, I've got both my setters, and I have 2 setters, 1 opposite and 1 outside hitter, and I absolutely know who I want at all 4 positions.
All right, well, pick one.
I'm going to start off with the opposite, and I want Ivan Zaitsev.
Yep.
I think other than Juan Terena, he's the most dominant, then the most prominent Italian player by far.
Yep.
Has single-handedly ruined my life on many an occasion. Just always decided to have his best performances against the United States. That asshole. The famous 4 aces in a row to win a World League match. There's against the U.S. There's the Olympic semifinal in 2016, and even like when he was an outside the first couple years there, and after about the 2012 Olympics, after Michal Lasko, their lefty, retired, they moved him over to the right, and he was maybe the biggest superstar in the volleyball world for 10 years after that.
Once again, culturally relevant. Culturally relevant. Yeah, he has to be.
4 picks left. What you got?
4 picks left. I'm going to round out my setting class with what I think was hands down the best setter in the 2010s. You're going to give me that? I think you know who I'm going for.
Of course
here.
I do.
Yeah. It has to be Bruno. Like Bruno, up until recently with DeCecco and like Christensen, like Bruno for me is the best setter in the 2010s, without a doubt.
Yeah. Olympic gold. All the club, all like
Olympic gold and Olympic silver,
and Olympic silver,
and
I
think
a whole lot of international medals in
Yeah.
between. Was he on the 2010 World Championship winning team? He probably was.
Yeah, he was. He when we did our interview the other day, he told me the first time he played in Canada was 2007, over in Mississauga.
He was on the team in 2008 in the Olympics,
Yeah.
although he didn't play that much.
He was on the bench.
Yeah. I'm sure he won the world championship in 2010.
Yeah.
Then
Bruno
2016.
Bruno has to be, in my opinion, there's no other, like the other great setters are either like overlapping from the 2000s and a little bit in the 2010s, or they're more so the younger guys from now.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, for me, Bruno has to be like, and he's my starter.
Yeah, I agree. Bruno and Maroof.
And he's my captain.
What an incredible...
Bruno's not only my starting setter, but he's also my captain.
Good choice.
Yeah.
I think you got the two setters that define the 2010s the most.
100%.
And I like the two setters that I'm still gonna pick. I
know who one of them was going to be. I'm interested to see where you go with the other.
I think you'll know who both of them are going to be.
I mean, I'm sure I do know them as a player, but
so I'm gonna take one of them now, and the obvious one is Luciano DeCecco, because you already picked Conte. The instant you picked Conte, I knew that DeCecco was going to be one of my setters. We were looking it up just before we did this, but what'd you say the first time DeCecco played was? Like 06?
06 was his first World Championships, and he played under 19 in 05. So, like, we're not that far away from him being in the sport for, like, professionally for almost 20 years.
And obviously spanned the entire decade. He didn't have the success that Bruno had, and he didn't have maybe like the cultural significance that Maroof had.
Not outside of the sport, but I'd say within the sport, yes.
But my goodness, like it's like if you know, you know.
Like those early days when Robert Landy Simone just came over from Cuba, the Piacenza, the DeCecco Piacenza days,
those Piacenza teams.
Back when it was the old Piacenza,
yeah,
like him and it was absolutely
all time highlights,
all time, just absolutely all time, like back shoots and everything,
running bump sets to Simone in the middle from off the court, get out of here. And then went to Perugia, which I think is a chapter that a lot of people forget about.
Oh, yeah, he did go to Perugia. I forgot about that.
And then with Lube, and so
dominated the end of the 2010s.
Ton of club success. And then we just watched him yesterday. It was the first time I've watched him in person.
Oh, he's so
still
great.
Blew me away.
Yeah, it's so great to watch him play. He's just a straight up artist.
For sure.
Yeah, DeCecco has to be in there. Next up for me.
So before you make this pick, you still have Russia on the board.
Yep.
You have one opposite, one outside, one middle. A Russian guy at this point could fit into any of those three.
100%.
I'm curious to see where you go with that country in particular.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious where I'm going to go.
I think the best player is at one certain position, but the best value might be at another position.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I'm going with Mikhailov. I mean, like Maxim Mikhailov has to be. And you know what? It's funny because I really thought about going Vlasve at the opposite. But ultimately, and you could have gone Kurek as well too. But ultimately for me, Maxim Mikhailov, like people don't really remember is about how it's not like they took out Mikhailov to bring in Minersky on the right side. They moved him to the left, and he became way more effective on the left. Plus, he was the cornerstone of all of those Champions League teams with Zenit Kazan. Like, he is still the guy, in my opinion.
Mikhailov is on my Mount Rushmore of all-time volleyball players in history.
Without a doubt.
But he's so, like, understated.
He's the Tim Duncan of volleyball.
He is. He's
the Tim Duncan of volleyball.
He's not flashy in any way. He's not like a sexy play style opposite. But my goodness, is he good? He's so reliable. He is just He's so clutch. He's so dependable. Yeah. Serving, blocking, attacking.
I think they got it. I went over it pretty good.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So good.
Let's move forward. What's your next pick here?
So I still have an American. I've yet to pick an American, and I have one setter and one outside hitter left, and I am thinking about an American at both of those positions, but I'm going to go with Micah Christensen.
Okay,
I'm going to go with Micah Christensen. Was the starting setter starting in 2014, so 6 years of like activity in this decade, I think is enough to be considered for this list. And I mean, he started in 2014. His first tournament, he won the World League when he was 21 and still had another year in the NCAA. And ever since, has instantly been one of the best setters on the planet. Club success, Lube and Modena, brilliant with both. Now in Zenit Kazan, of course, but that's outside the 2010s. But as soon as he came onto the scene, he was the most sought-after setter maybe in the world. And it was the first guy kind of his kind. Like after Lloyd Ball, he was the only really like big setter, like above average size setter at like 6'6", ambidextrous, like one of the most unique and fun players in the world, and I love him so much. And I mean, you can't pick him because you already picked an American. I thought about Taylor Sander, but it was because it was the same time window.
Yeah,
I think Christensen definitely had more club success and had the same amount of national team success. So I'm going with Micah.
Okay, yeah, that's a good pick.
Okay, you have 2 picks left. You have an outside and a middle. You still have Poland on the board.
Oh man,
you still have. I guess you have Bulgaria on the board if you want it. But the reason why I mean, Mikhailov is one of my favorite players and one of the best players of all time, but I thought that Sokolov at opposite was probably the better pick for this format. And you could have used Russia somewhere else. So with these last 2 picks, I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, no, these last 2 picks are a little tough. I've kind of cornered myself a little bit with these these last 2 picks. And I'm trying to like rack my brain, especially for middle blockers. But I think I'm going to go. I have two options. I think for for one of the big countries. I have 2 options for the outside position.
Okay.
Shit.
Let's see. What countries do you even have left? Poland.
And then random small countries.
Random ones. Yeah, it really drops off.
I've taken
after
Italy.
that.
I've taken France. I've taken Canada. I've
Yeah,
taken
so
Iran.
You got to
Argentina.
think like which is why I liked my Grozer pick from Germany, because I don't think that anyone else from Germany is going to get picked. I mean, like Netherlands, Belgium.
Yeah.
Like Czech Republic, dude. I don't know.
I think
Australia, Japan, like some of the Far East countries.
And I need to pick someone from Poland.
You do. You have to. You definitely should.
I have
pick
to have someone from Poland. The stats though are weird. Like there's guys that I know have played a lot of seasons, for example, in Poland, but their stats on like Volleybox are only coming up. From 2018.
I'm gonna help you out a little bit here. Poland did win 2 world championships in this decade.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't that many guys who were primarily featured on both. Who was one of them? One of them is still one of the positions that you need.
I mean, I think I know who you're talking about, and I have thought about him. I have. If we're talking about Kubiak.
Yeah, I'm talking about Kubiak.
So that's what, like, at the outside position, I'm just going to throw this right out there. I'm deliberating between Poland and Tina Earnout.
Oh.
Because I think both of those guys are somewhat similar, but Earnout was way more important to his team that had, like, a golden, like, there was 3 European silver medals. It's like Eurovolley silver medals in the 2010s for Slovenia.
I think it was only 2. I think it was 17 and 19 because
it was 3. They did 15 as well.
Oh, they did 15 as well?
Yeah.
Oh man.
17 was the year I think they didn't go.
I'm looking that up. National team tournaments. 15, 19, and 21.
Oh, 21.
Yeah.
But so the 15 and 19 are still in there. Shit.
But you do need a weird country, and that definitely makes sense. But then, like, which Polish middle are you going to take?
Well, that's what I was just looking at. And for some reason, some of the legendary guys that I'm thinking of all have their stats starting in like 2018. So you know what? I'm just gonna bring in Tony Earnout.
Okay. Yeah, I think at this stage in the draft, this is where I've got you. This is where I've got you with my list. I like the way that I managed my countries a lot. And with my last pick, what pop quiz, Everett? What country have I not picked yet? I have not picked Canada.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
I am picking Gord Perrin as my final outside hitter.
Great pick. Great pick.
Yeah, I mean, as Gavin Schmidt was the first Canadian player that I remember, Gord Perrin was the most important.
Yes, absolutely. Especially like what he did with that team after Schmidt left.
Right.
And after and continued to go on. Yeah.
So I love that pick. I also really like my outside group, like Leon, Kaziski, Ingapet, and Gord.
That's pretty nice.
That's a great group.
Yeah, that is a great group. If I would have Gord on my team too, but I had to go with Gavin.
Yeah, which totally makes sense.
I am gonna go with one of the all-stars in the middle blocking position from the 2014 World Championships. He got 5 blocks earlier today, and that's Mr. Carl Close.
Great pick.
Carl Close is gonna be my other middle blocker there. And you know what? I think you can go with either Klose or Stankovic. Robert Landy's not coming off the court.
Hell no.
Robert Landy's not coming off the court.
No.
Hell, we might even pull a Russia and move him to the right side. No, we don't need to.
Not with those
with
two guys.
Mikhailov or Gavin. But yeah, Carol Klose to close it out. I do believe he was on the 2019 roster as well too.
Klose?
Yeah.
2019. Yeah, they got bronze at Nations League in 2019, and he was their captain. So for what it's worth there. Great club career, just really rock solid, and like every time I think that he's going to retire, he just doesn't.
Yeah.
He just keeps doing it.
Keeps doing it. Once again, five blocks earlier today.
Keeps doing it.
He still gets that job done.
Okay. All right, pick your starting 7 out of your 12.
Oh, okay. Well, Maroof. No, sorry, not Maroof. He was just at the top of the list there.
Gotta be Bruno. Right?
Bruno,
yeah,
at number 1 is my setter. Obviously, Mikhailov is going to be on the right side. I'm going to go with Juan Torrena and Matt Anderson.
Good choice
on the left. Robert Landy and Daddy are going to be in the middle for me.
And Grebennikov.
And then Grebennikov, obviously.
That team is really good. I'm going with Christensen. I'm going to go with Grozer over Zaitsev.
Okay.
But like DeCecco and Zaitsev in the double sub is pretty gnarly. Christensen, Grozer, Leon. I think I'll go with Leon and Ingapet.
That's what I would go.
That's going to be in system a lot.
Yeah.
Leon and Ingapet with Kaziski as the first guy off the bench. Mazursky for sure. And probably Podrashkinin and then Sergio. I mean, think about Sergio passing to Micah Christensen and then Christensen setting Grozer, Leon, Ingapet, and Mazursky. Jesus.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That's pretty good. So that's it.
That is it. I'm pretty stoked with my team too, though. I think either setter I'm going with can work magic. I think Grebennikov is just going to really hold down that serve receive, nice and easy. But even like, I think my team outpasses your team with Juan Torrena and Anderson back there, and Grebennikov. 100%. Like we're just going after Leon.
My team outserves yours 100%. Got you at setter, Micah over Bruno. I've got you with Grozer.
Micro over Bruno.
Serving?
What?
Serving? I'm saying servers.
Okay.
I've got you on serving. Micah is a better server than Bruno. That's a fact. Indisputable. Grozer, I think Grozer is a more dangerous server even than Mikhailov. Leon was the best server on the planet at this time. Ingapet is as good of a server as anyone on your list. You've got me with Simone in the middle. He's the best server of the middles. But even Mazursky was dangerous serving every so often. And then you just get like maybe a float serve with Pedrassin. I think my serving lineup is gnarly.
Yeah, it is.
My blocking lineup is gnarly too.
Well, when this goes out, we'll have to make sure we do a poll.
Yeah, do a community poll and see.
Do a community poll and see what they think of. Is there any players, who do we think we've missed from the 2010s?
So I have a list that I made. I had Jiba. Although Jiba was definitely more of the 2000s.
Jiba's a 2000s guy.
Why I didn't pick him. One of the Russia picks that you easily could have made a case was Sergei Tetyukin.
Tetyukin was also one of the guys. The Iron Man Tetyukin. I thought of him very heavily, but
I thought for sure you were going to pick Sokolov. I think that would have been a better pick than Tine Earnout.
True.
Vlazwi from Poland, and then I had Paul Carroll from Australia.
Paul Carroll,
just in case we needed a weird country.
He was in my head.
Yeah,
he was in my head for sure. I agree, but I also think that might be, as North Americans, we might be biased on that because
he played at Pep.
Yeah, because of how good he was when he played at Pep.
He was amazing.
Right. So that's another thing.
I had Lucas in the middle from Brazil. He was a top 3 middle in the world the entire decade.
Lucas was, that's when I said there was 3.
Yeah.
Like Lucas was the other guy that I thought you might forget about Sergio, but
no, I wouldn't forget about Sergio. I also, if I needed a Canada pick in the middle, I was going to take Graham Vigrass.
Ooh, solid.
Who I've always really loved. I always loved this game. Setters, Grantkin was the only setter that we didn't end up picking. But
Grandpa Grantkin was also another guy on my list.
There were better Russia picks, like Mikhailov, Mazursky had to be picked. Yeah, really. And then I think Tetyukin would have been the third guy. Alexei Verbov at libero. I also thought about.
And then also who's the Polish guy? Zatorsky.
I thought about Zatorsky.
Yeah. I also thought about if a setter, like one way out of, we should do another one of these lists, but only small countries.
Oh man,
like just
weird countries.
Yeah, just teams outside of the VNL.
Oh my goodness.
But in that vein, if I was thinking of like a completely out of left field pick as a setter, one of my favorite setters to watch from Mexico, Pedro Rangel. Yeah, Pedro Rangel
that is a niche
awesome
pick for sure. But
like if you put him on any other team in that decade, he has a much bigger impact.
Oh sure, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we just saw him because of like Norsika stuff.
Yeah, I saw him quite a bit. I the first game that I ever commentated internationally for Canada was Canada versus Mexico back in 2011, and Mexico beat us in the first set, and Rangel started the match with an 11 serving run.
Whoa!
Yeah, we ended up winning that match 3-1. That was the match that we won to be able to qualify for the World League qualification. Yeah, because then we went on to lose to the Brazilian military team.
Oh, I remember they actually still put in a Brazilian military team to Norsika's or like Pan Am sometimes.
Yeah, depending on if there's one, but like because there's military, like you have to do military service. Like they had like Olympic gold medalists from 2008 on their bench in Anderson. Like their setter I remember at the time was like playing for JSW. Like they were legit. They were absolutely legit, and they ended up winning that tournament. They beat the American A2 team in the final.
Huh.
Kivika Soji. Who else?
What year was this?
This is 2011.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably some good names on that roster.
David Smith was on that roster.
David Smith
was on that roster too.
Yeah, I also thought about picking David Lee as far as
David
go.
Lee was also up there for my block. Blockers.
He was, and he really, he came onto the scene in 2008 and then kicked ass the entire 2010s decade. But I think that's it.
Yeah, I think
we should probably go over to VNL right about now and watch my beloved United States. So we have no idea when this video is going to come out. For transparency, it is Wednesday, June 7th, and we are in Ottawa. But whenever this does come out, I think obviously the topic is not time sensitive. I think people are going to enjoy us looking back over sort of our wheelhouse decade, like as we were really young, impressionable volleyball fans.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll put a poll up as soon as we do make this video public on. You guys can vote on who do you think team is better. So I'll put it up one more time. Yep. Here's the teams at 12 one more time. And I like these lists. I like these players.
Yes.
I like going down memory lane a little bit.
It was nice. We wanted to also pick a volleyball team from NBA players, but Rob doesn't know enough players in the NBA.
I think that basketball sucks fundamentally. Although I'm aware of the NBA.
I'm aware of it. It's something I'm aware of.
I'm aware.
I dabble occasionally.
Basketball sucks.
Why?
Well, that's a discussion for our other video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. We will release this whenever we release it, but you guys are already following along with all the VNL coverage, so I'm going to go watch the USA beat up on Namir Abdelaziz.
Hopefully.
All
right, peace, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure, if you're not subscribed to Volleyball Source. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. I just looked over at your screen to see how many likes we have, but no one's watching this right now.
We are streaming this to an audience of 0.
We are. Make sure to go check out the Volleyball Source Discord. If you're not, we've been having a lot more action in there this week. And, of course, as always, go hit up thatvolleyball.store for all your spicy volleyball 9x9 Volleyball Source merch needs.
See you, people. Thanks for watching.
Peace.